It all started with a casual, everyday conversation, one I never expected to turn my world upside down. I was at the mailbox, flipping through some letters when my neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, an older woman who had lived in the neighborhood for decades, approached me. Her face carried a puzzled expression, her brow deeply furrowed as she adjusted her glasses. Something was clearly on her mind. "I didn't know you were moving," she blurted out, clutching her grocery bag a little tighter, as if bracing herself for some unexpected news. I blinked, completely caught off guard. "Moving? What? I'm not moving. What makes you think that?" Her expression only grew more perplexed as she pulled out her phone, scrolling through something before finally holding it out to me. "Then why is your house listed for sale?" Her voice was laced with genuine concern. My stomach clenched as I focused on the screen. And there it was, my house, fully listed on Zillow, complete with photos, a fake contact email, and an absurdly low asking price. The description claimed it was a motivated seller situation, emphasizing that the property was available for an immediate move-in. It looked like someone was trying to orchestrate a quick, shady sale. A slow, simmering rage built inside me as I scrolled through the fraudulent listing. There was only one person in this neighborhood petty enough, controlling enough, and downright manipulative enough to pull something like this: Karen, the self-proclaimed HOA enforcer, the perpetual thorn in my side. Karen had been at war with me from the moment I moved in. She despised the fact that I didn't grovel before the HOA board like everyone else. She hated that I refused to repaint my house in one of the approved dull, lifeless colors. But most of all, she loathed that I actually knew my rights. Over the past year, she had pulled every trick in the book to make my life miserable. Petty fines, bogus violation notices, and even harassing my contractors when I had my driveway redone. But this was a whole new level of insanity. I wasted no time. I took screenshots of the listing, noted the fake email address, and immediately contacted Zillow support. Within minutes, I was connected to a representative. "Yeah, I'd like to report a fraudulent listing. My house has been posted for sale without my permission," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anger boiling beneath the surface. The rep on the other end of the line sounded genuinely concerned. "We take these reports very seriously. Do you have proof that you're the legal owner?" I smirked, though there was no humor in it. "Oh, I can do you one better. I'm a real estate lawyer." There was a pause, a long one. Well, the rep finally responded, clearing their throat. That certainly simplifies things. After a quick verification process, Zillow took the listing down within the hour. But I wasn't done, not by a long shot. I needed to find out exactly how Karen had pulled this off. That evening, I did some digging. The email used for the fake listing wasn't one I recognized, but with a little bit of sleuthing, I traced it back to a burner account registered under Karen's husband's name. Sloppy. Really, really sloppy. But exactly the kind of reckless mistake I expected from her. The next morning, I took a slow, deliberate walk past Karen's house. As expected, she was outside, pruning her already meticulously trimmed bushes. Because, of course, her lawn was the gold standard the rest of us were expected to follow. When she saw me, she smirked, her face barely concealing her satisfaction. "Oh, good morning. I heard you might be moving." I crossed my arms, tilted my head slightly. "Oh, you heard that, did you?" She gave an innocent shrug, feigning nonchalance. Word travels fast in a well-connected neighborhood. I stared at her, letting the silence stretch just long enough for her confident smile to waver. "Funny," I finally said, "because I just had a fraudulent listing taken down. Any idea how that might have gotten there?" Her expression didn't change, at least not at first. But I saw it, the slight twitch in her jaw, the barely perceptible shift in her stance. "Well," she said smoothly, "if someone listed your house, maybe it's a sign you should consider selling. This neighborhood has expectations, you know." I let out a low chuckle, shaking my head. "Karen, do you know what happens when you attempt real estate fraud?" She blinked. "Excuse me?" I took a step closer, lowering my voice just enough to make sure she felt the full weight of my next words. "Because I do. and I'd be more than happy to educate you on the legal ramifications. She stiffened, her grip tightening on her shears. I have no idea what you're talking about. I suggest you take your conspiracy theories elsewhere. I smiled. Oh, don't worry. I'll be taking them exactly where they need to go. Karen had just made the biggest mistake of her life, and I was going to make sure she regretted it. That night, I compiled every piece of evidence I had: the fraudulent Zillow listing, the burner email tied to her husband, the messages I exchanged with Zillow's support team. I drafted a formal complaint and sent it directly to my state's real estate fraud division. If Karen thought this was going to be swept under the rug like one of her usual HOA power trips, she was in for a brutal awakening. The very next morning, I got a call. The local authorities had received my report, and they were taking it very seriously. Real estate fraud isn't just some minor offense. It's a crime with severe consequences, especially when it involves falsifying property sales. They assured me that an investigation was already underway. That same afternoon, I sat on my porch, sipping coffee, when a black SUV with government plates rolled into the neighborhood. 2 investigators, dressed in crisp suits, stepped out and marched right up to Karen's front door. I watched with barely concealed amusement as she answered, her usual smug expression vanishing the moment she saw their badges. Mrs. Dawson, we're here in connection with an alleged fraudulent real estate listing involving this property address. One of them stated firmly. Karen's face drained of color. She gripped the doorframe like she might collapse. I don't know what you're talking about. The male investigator pulled out a file. We have evidence tracing the fraudulent listing back to an account linked to your husband's name. We'd like to ask you a few questions about that. Her expression twisted into a mix of panic and outrage. This is a misunderstanding. I had nothing to do with that. The female investigator exchanged a glance with her partner. Then you shouldn't have any issue answering our questions down at the station. Karen's reign was officially over, and the neighborhood, it had never looked better.